This is MacVoices TV. This edition of MacVoices TV at Macworld 2011 is brought to you by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen and Text Expander, tools for your Mac, iPhone, and iPad. Download free demos of these and more at smilesoftware.com. Hi, I'm Chuck Joyner, and this is MacVoices TV at Macworld 2011 in San Francisco. We're starting to wind the show down, and that means it's time to get a little bit of analysis from Mr. Jeff Gamet. Jeff, it's great to see you actually in person this time. Usually we're just on Skype.
That's true. And Chuck, it's awesome to get to see you anytime.
Thank you very much. And it's amazing. We're both still standing after 3 hard days of Expo, but it's been a blast.
It has been. And I'm surprised we're both standing. But since Macworld's just one building now, multiple levels, I think it's made it easier to get around.
Yeah, it does help. And of course, we have escalators to go to the other floors, which really helps a lot.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, what we usually do is say, oh, what have you seen that's cool? But I'd like to go a little more in depth, because you're always a keen observer of the industry. What do you think about Macworld? What do you think about what it's become this year? Last year, we were all, what's going to happen? Apple's not here. This year, it seems to be redefined, at least from where I sit. It seems to be, I don't know about, focus may not be the word, but just very strong, very enthusiastic, and a lot of fun.
Okay, well, 2 years ago, Macworld was one type of show. Last year, it was a different show, and this year, it's a new show. So if we look at last year, for a lot of people, they showed up, I think, feeling that this might be the last time they get to go to Macworld. So everyone came for the biggest Apple-related party in the world, and it was. But then this year, people are showing up to see what's going to be happening with the show going forward. And so I think this year, Paul Kent did a really great job of setting us up to have a good foundation for next year. He's been able to show us that, yep, we can have a filled expo floor, not just vendors, but people, even on the last day, and here we are getting very close to the end of the last day, and there's still just lots of people roaming around. Far more than I would have expected. So we have this energy, we have all of these people, we had a bunch of great seminars all week long, and I think that Paul and the rest of his crew did a good job of getting us to a point where we can say, okay, great, I can't wait to see how much bigger it is next year.
Inevitably, the issue of a Steve Jobs keynote comes up, and we don't have Steve Jobs keynotes anymore, and that's okay, because Paul and his crew have filled in and created an amazing series of feature presentations. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about every single one of those that I've talked to anyone about. You know, I have to say, I think I've run into 2 people that said, oh, I'm sorry that, company X isn't here. And it's like, well, but, why should they be? They don't have any new products to announce. I'm kind of glad they aren't here, because this puts everybody on a level playing field. Everybody has a chance for attention. A lot of new products here, a lot of first-time exhibitors, which also makes it feel fresh and young.
Apple not being here, I'm totally fine with. And it's exactly for what you said. If Apple's not here, there's focus for other companies. And for a lot of these smaller companies around here that we would otherwise miss because they'd be lost in the glow that is the Apple booth. So I'm fine with them not being here. Some of the other companies that aren't here, like Microsoft isn't here this year, but they were still involved in kind of a satellite way because there was some promotional stuff that they had. So I think this was maybe Microsoft's gimme year from IDC. I expect they'll be back next year, and if not, there will be a lot of disappointed people. And by disappointed people, I mean inside the industry, people that are expecting Microsoft to step up and play a bigger role in this show now. I don't think we'll ever see FileMaker back here again, but that's because it's part of Apple, so they won't be back. But then we don't have, Belkin that's not here anymore? So there's some big companies that aren't here, but it's okay, because there are other big companies here, and then there will be big companies that come back later.
Jeff, what would you say to someone who's sitting here starting to make up their budget for next year, and they're having to decide about Macworld? I guess I look around me and I see a lot of people with cameras, with mics, with notepads, with iPads, taking notes. everybody that's here is getting a lot of attention. If you have a product that is anywhere near worth its salt, you've gotten a lot of press, or will be getting a lot of press in the months to come because you were here. I know there's a lot of criticism about too many iPad case vendors, excuse me, which I have to ask you the question, why are they here? They're here because they're selling product.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. They're here because they're selling products. They need visibility. And, okay, the iPad's not even a year old yet. This is still the really cool new thing. And yes, we're going to have a lot of companies that are catering to the hype and the energy and the interest that surrounds the iPad. And if they're not, okay, well, they're missing out on a potential market right there. So, yes, this is a year that we have a lot of iPad stuff. We'll always have a substantial number of iPad and iPhone-related booths. Before we had the iPhone, think of how many iPod-specific booths we had. We don't see a lot of those this year, and that's okay. Now, the Mac is getting all kinds of revisions and new features all the time. So we have all of these companies that provide interesting third-party products for Macs. Some of those are here. I have a feeling with products that Apple will release throughout 2011, as if I have any inside information, but anything Apple will release in 2011 that relates to the Mac, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff, I believe. And so that means that by the time we get to Macworld Expo 2012, that there will be opportunities for companies that want to cater to all of these new designs that Apple has for their portable computers. So yeah, we'll still have a lot of iPad stuff. Of course, we'll have a lot of iPhone stuff. I would like to see more Mac-related stuff here. And so I guess that means people need to buy products to let all these companies know they'd like to see them here.
And I think there's a lot to be said right there. You know, say, hey, I'm sorry, write your favorite vendor, write and say, hey, I was here, I'm sorry that you weren't, or I'm planning on coming, I hope to see you there next year. And I realize that sounds a little, grassroots kind of movement thing. That's not it. It's just this is an important place, and everybody has limited budgets. They got to figure out where they're going to spend their money. This is a great place to spend your money and get the attention for it rather than take ads out, any number of places and not be quite sure. Here, if you're on the show floor, and again, you have any kind of reasonably decent product, you're getting attention.
You said grassroots. You totally nailed it. It's all about the grassroots. I mean, look at what the Mac has been for its community practically since its inception. There's always been that grassroots mentality that goes along with the Macintosh. And that's okay for that to carry over into other vendors that make products that you want to use with your Mac. Do the grassroots thing. It totally makes sense. That's what we do. We're Mac users.
Ran into one guy that wanted to be interviewed, and we talked a little bit. We went back over to his booth, and on the way over, he said, I've done a lot of trade shows. I've done this kind of trade show and that kind of trade show, and I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen the constant energy. I've never seen this much traffic, this much buzz the whole way through the show. He said, I'm exhausted. Nope, and everybody else is exhausted, but they're still going. It's amazing. And I thought that was the perfect description of this year's Expo.
Yeah, I agree. The energy has been very high, and I am pleasantly surprised because, honestly, we didn't know what was going to happen this year when we all showed up. It could have been you and me standing here with a microphone and nothing else, which would have been bad on many levels. But, it's just one of those things. It worked out great instead, and that's good. And when you look at what we have here, and vendors that are here for the first time, and they're surprised at how exhausted they are, it's because they're used to going to other shows like CES, where it's geared for companies that want to meet with potential channel partners, essentially. Here, you're meeting with your end user. So instead of talking to someone that just wants to talk numbers and get signatures on dotted lines, you're talking to the person that's been using your product. They know what doesn't work for them, and because they're passionate about what they use, they're more than happy to tell you what they don't like and what they do like. So, of course, the vendors are going to be exhausted by this point if they have people coming by their booth, and I think that's a good sign.
I agree completely. Jeff, I know you have some people you want to still get to see, so thanks so much for talking to us. We'll see you back on MacVoices on the Mac Jury anytime. It's always a pleasure.
Well, thanks, and it's always a pleasure to get to talk with you, Chuck. You know that.
He's so sweet. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices TV. We're starting to wrap up Macworld 2011, but we're not done yet. Thanks for watching.
MacVoices TV is part of the MacVoices Group and a member of Mac Level 10.